back yet again to another video. This time we're showing off the beginnings of my collection of the game A Song of Ice and Fire by CMON, or Come On Games, whatever they call themselves now. This was a game that I collected and have probably the largest single collection of all the miniatures that I have. Not in terms of figures, but I mean as in terms of what I've collected from the available range. I basically have everything except for the things that for some reason can't be shipped into Canada. They just never arrive. But slowly the back orders are becoming less and less, and as you've seen in other workbench videos, I've got tons of unpainted stuff for this that keeps showing up every day, and there's more and more. And this is a video to show off the stuff that I have actually painted. Now, it's quite a bit. This is the Stark faction. If you know Game of Thrones, you know who the Starks are, obviously the main characters in the show. But this game is based off of the books. So in front of me here I have most of the characters of the Stark family, at least, and they don't look like the show. So if you're only familiar with Game of Thrones from the show, they might look a little off to you, but they're still recognizable, I think. Essentially what's happened with this game in my life is I don't play it anymore. I still collect it. It's a very it's a competitive game. You can play narratively, but it's designed with a competitive tournament style in mind. That's not to say you can't play a friendly game. You absolutely can, and it's great. It just means that I prefer playing this game in a competitive sense than in a narrative sense, versus historical miniatures where I prefer playing scenarios in a narrative way. Hopefully that made sense. But I essentially, when this game first was in Kickstarter, I was part of the, well, I wouldn't say part of that, but I was given permission by Asmodee and CMON to demo this game as much as I possibly could. They gave me special figures for events, they gave me support, posters, whatever I needed to preview this game for as many people as I could. And mainly what I did was I took this game, because of its competitive nature and its ease of play, I took it to mostly 40k tournaments here in Canada, and I painted a ton of figures. This isn't even a quarter of the figures that I painted, and I took them to various tournaments and conventions that I could find. Now in Canada, there's not that many tournaments and there's not that many conventions for any game system, especially recently. But back when this game was first coming out, before it hit retail, I went out and I demoed this game as much as I could. Now the people that I demoed this game to, funnily enough, were girlfriends and wives of players in 40k tournaments who were just sitting around waiting on their husbands or boyfriends or family members or whatever to finish the tournament. You know, if you've ever been to a 40k tournament, you know it's around 9-10 hours long. You play 3 or 4 games, and if you have any spouses with you, they basically sit around, they go to the coffee shop, they walk around a mall next door, whatever they do, but mainly they're bored. And I would say out of maybe the 100 people I demoed this game to, 75 of them were women. And that's totally cool, because women read a lot of books, and most of them are very familiar with Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire. So that was weird, but I was happy to do it. Just a weird quirk of the going to tournaments. Now, me and my wife, we painted all these figures, and we took the Starks. They're my most complete faction, them and the Lannisters. And we took these two factions, because essentially that was all that was released back in the day, to every convention as well that we could find. And we set up huge tables with a few hundred figures on each side, and we played 3-on-3 battles, 2-on-2 battles. We even had a table set up for a single one-turn demo, just for people passing through. Hey, you got 6 minutes, sit down, let's roll some dice, just so you get the mechanics down. And I was in love with this game, and I put my heart and soul into this game. And essentially what's happened is I don't play it anymore because I had a bad experience with a player, and they kind of killed my momentum, if that makes sense. Secondly, essentially the game took off in Canada, so it didn't need me anymore, and there was people that were better able to go to tournaments and to go to game stores and demo the game other than me. I work full time, 50 hours a week. I have kids, I've got a wife, I've got that cat. I have commitments other than gaming. So my commitments were only ever on a Saturday. I could only ever afford time on a Saturday, and it couldn't be the entire Saturday. Whereas younger people that have less commitments, they could go to gaming stores on Friday nights, Thursday nights, Tuesday nights. So essentially, I passed the torch, in a manner of speaking, to people who are better capable of demoing the game, and I played games mainly with my friends and at home with my wife. And in one of those instances, when I was playing a game at home, I was essentially called a cheater by one of my friends, and we broke up, and it was a whole big scene, and it really dampened my spirit and killed my soul a bit. And I haven't been able really to bring the miniatures out on the table since then and physically play with them. Long story short, the Lannisters came out with a Kingsguard and Joffrey Baratheon set, and I frantically painted them up, and I was using them in my very first game. And if you've seen the set or you're familiar with the set of Kingsguard from this game, they all kind of look virtually the same. Only their stat cards are different, but the miniatures themselves are very, very, very similar. And I mistook, or he mistook, which unit I placed which Kingsguard member in. And when my unit activated and basically destroyed his, he accused me of, because of the familiarity with the models, I told him the attachment to that unit was supposed to be on that unit. And I said, no, hold on, no, it's the opposite way around. And we got into an issue. He cursed me up and down in front of my 5-year-old at the time, or 4-year-old at the time, and I told my son, like, hey man, you gotta go upstairs, just get away from this. This is I have no idea where this is gonna go. And I kicked him out. And yeah, I haven't played the game since. But anyway, I digress. Enough of my personal issues. But events like that can really affect a person, because we were going to do a podcast on this game. I essentially stopped demoing it. I stopped bringing it to conventions. Basically broke my heart, essentially, is what I'm trying to tell you. But my wife asked me last night to bring the Starks out and just start showing off the figures, because these are her favorite figures. We worked really hard on them. She did an amazing job basing them. I painted them. And we put a lot of work into this. So here we are. That's 7 minutes of preamble. This is the Starks. The Starks are made up of several sub-factions. You have the who are these? The Reeds, Howland Reed and his group. You have the Umbers. You have the Tullys, the Starks themselves. And now, I don't have them painted, but there's the Mormonts now. There's the Karstarks now that are available. Essentially, the Starks are one faction, but made up of several different factions. If you wanted to have all Tully units, heavily armored, cool-looking fish dudes, you can have that. If you want to have all Umbers, axe-wielding maniacs, you can have that. If you want to have archers, you can have all archers if you want, and so on and so forth. You can have cavalry, all cavalry if you wish. It's up to you. The game is really flexible and it's pretty cool. But I'm just going to show you handheld. That's why the camera's going crazy. Only because the cat will not leave me alone with this bloody ball. I'll just show you what he wants me to do. This is what he wants me to do every single time. He just wants me to bounce. Oh, shit. Nope, that's not what I wanted. He wants me to bounce the ball so he can chase it around. Anyway, painted lots of units. First, I'll show you my Umbers. These are the Berserkers. And first of all, for a Kickstarter game and a CMON game, these figures are really amazing. I love these figures, especially the individual characters. There is a lot of repeats in the unit figures, but the characters are really nice. So here's the Umber Berserkers. Here's the Umber Great Axes. I love them. They look really cool, big beefy dudes. There's another unit. Here's Howland Reed and his Cranagmen. Basically, they hide in the swamps and they ambush people. There is the Tully swordsmen, which are heavily armored. Really, really cool armor on them, like scales. Instead of mail, chainmail, it's scale mail. But yeah, really nice, really distinctive units, and really cool color scheme. We have the bog standard Stark infantrymen here, just the sworn swords. And then we have some Stark archers. The archers aren't my favorite sculpts because for some reason they're very thin. They don't seem proportioned. There's also some Tully cavalry, or no, Stark cavalry. They're outriders. I've got 2 units of them. And yeah, that is the bog standard units. Now, oh my god, cat. Off he goes. I'll just spend some time and I'll show you close-ups of the physical characters, which I really like. Now, these are the 2 of the ones I think are the worst figures in the range. These are Brendan the Blackfish. Now, I know I didn't actually paint him black, but I painted him more like his faction colors, because I figured that's probably what he would be. But these are his on-foot figure and his mounted figure. And quite honestly, as far as figures goes, they're garbage. I don't like them at all. And I believe Simon is making new figures for him, and they look much better, which I will be getting eventually. Now here is Great John Umber, which I really like. Such a cool pose. He has two different poses. He has this pose here, which is the alt special edition pose. And then he's one where he's swinging his great sword from kind of like around his back to his front. But that's Great John Umber, and he is a behemoth. If you look at him next to Roderick Castle, you can see the difference. So he goes over here with the Umbers. Here's Roderick Castle, the one of the guys who gets, well, I shouldn't say it, but spoiler alert, he gets killed in both the books and the TV show. So here he is. That's Roderick Castle. Who will I do this? Oh, this is just a bog standard Stark Captain. Now, I hope these come through on picture okay, but they probably won't on the camera. There's a Stark Captain. Now, this is the Wild Thing. If you've watched this TV show, she comes, I think it's Orsha. She comes and they capture her. Instead of killing her, they make her kind of look after Rickon, which is here, Rickon Stark. So he's here, and I gave him a sort of a purpley jacket or like overcoat. Pretty cool model, and she looks after him with her big wooden staff, and she is a pretty cool model too. I really like her pose, everything about that model I really like. And then here's the direwolf, shaggy dog that basically escorts Rickon around, and if you go anywhere near him, he gets really upset with you. Who else? We have this is not a Mormont. She's a She-Bear is her name. I can't remember her name right now. Wow, what a fail! But she is a Mormont, and she has a pretty cool pose. And not only does she have a pretty cool pose, but her rules are badass. But look at that figure. That figure is really nice. And I have these figures mainly in my display case, and that's why my wife wants me to show them off. So there's her. Here's Hodor, everyone's favorite hold the door guy. And he's got the kid on his back. And another really cool figure. And what the hell's the kid's name now? It's been so long since I watched the show or read the books, I can't remember all the names. Drawing a blank. Yeah, so that's him. Here's his direwolf, Summer. Really neat pose, kind of like up north above the wall, just kind of like trudging through the snow, checking out things. This is my favorite model from the range, and this is Arya Stark. Now, I put her on a special base because I thought she deserved to be with that kind of cool get away from me pose, or where she's training with her sword. And I gave her a nice light pink dress, nice pink purple dress. Mainly purple, but yeah, that's my favorite figure, and that's Arya, really cool. Then we have the Mother Catelyn. The face on this model isn't the best. Some of the miniatures are excellent, but sometimes you'll get a really dog model where the face just looks terrible. You'll see that as I go through the rest of the collection, especially when we get to the Baratheons. Melisandre has a terrible face, which really sucks. Or not Melisandre, the Red Witch, whatever her name is. But yeah, there's Catherine, and I try to give her a kind of like a silver pearl dress. and that's a really neat model. Here's Sansa when she's younger. Now in the book she's really young anyway, not like the TV show. But here's Sansa, and I gave her just a blue dress. I thought was really nice. Here's a Crannogman Warden. Kind of looks like a Three Musketeer, but he basically goes over with the other Crannogman. Here's Howland Reed, which is the father, or Eddard Stark's, one of his best friends. He's got a cool pose as well. He has his 2 kids. Now, let me see if I can get these 2 kids correct. Jojen and Mira? I can't remember exactly. But yeah, these are the 2 kids, and here's the dad. So there's the Howland Reed family. Pretty cool models. I give them all basically a very green... it's not all the same green. There's like 4 or 5 different types of green in there, but on camera it doesn't really show through. But I figured, hey, they're going to be in the marshes and the swamps. They're not going to be in purples and blues. And the cat just won't leave me alone. Look at this. Off you go. Bugger off. Here's Eddard, one of my favorite characters of all time, TV show and book. He's contemplating something there. I like how he has ice, his ancestral sword ice, but it's not out. He's not in a big action pose. It's a really cool idea of him just being more thoughtful and kind of like, hey, once you pull the sword out, things go downhill. And yeah, it's a really, really nice model. One of my favorite characters, one of my favorite models. Now, this is an amazing model. This is Syrio. This is Arya Stark's fencing master, and they have a very similar kind of on guard pose. Now, in the TV show, you never see him actually like fighting anyone with a real sword, but here he is. I was going to at first paint his sword wooden, but I thought, nah, no point. Gave him a kind of a Bravo-C color scheme, nice yellows. Here's my alt sculpt Robb Stark. I hate the Robb Stark from the basic set, so this is the one that I like the most, and I really dig this kind of like charging down the line pose that he's got. Let's see, zoom in there. The lighting is really bad, I'm sorry. But yeah, one of my favorite models, and it's a, come on. It's a hard to get miniature, but I have a couple of them saved up. And yeah, that is my Starks. Now, I did print off the activation token, not print off, paint out the activation tokens, and I do have lots more figures for this faction. I mean, a ton more figures, but they're not painted. So I'm just showing off the painted ones because I told my wife that I would. And yeah, I hope you enjoy, and the next video will be the Lannisters, those dirty rats. Bye-bye.